what? Video is earlier than expected. You know why? Because it turns out I bought the 3-year extended warranty from Future Shop, and as it turns out, if you send it in for repair 4 times, and they're all legitimate repairs, you need to smash it against a wall, they actually replace your computer. And since it has been such a long time since I got this computer, I got a better model. I got Windows 7. I'm finally off a freaking Vista, and damn, is it nice. Not only that, but I have a surprise for you guys. 100th video as well. Christmas. I'll post it on Christmas, I mean. So, look forward to that. Hope you do. Regardless, this is my review of James Cameron's Avatar. Easily the biggest movie of December, and you gotta wonder, does it live up to the hype? James Cameron hasn't made a movie in many a year, since 1997's Titanic to be exact, and frankly, even before that, all he's made is legendary movies. He's made Aliens, Terminator 2, like I said, the highest grossing movie of all time, Titanic. It's immense. So, after all this time, this supposed revolution in cinema, is this worth watching? Well, let me get into that. So the story of this movie, and I will try and summarize it just a little because frankly the trailers are really vague and all they do is praise it, is, well, basically the Noble Savage storyline, but to be more exact, is a paraplegic man known as Jake Sully, who has lost the use of both his legs, goes to an alien moon called Pandora to take his brother's place, now deceased brother's place, in the Avatar program, where they transfer his consciousness into one of the Na'vi beings, the Na'vi being the inhabitants of Pandora, who are the big blue people that you see in the commercials. Now, I gotta say, if I see a comment about fucking Thundercats or Smurfs right below this video, I will delete and block you from ever posting a comment again, because I do not want to hear about it. Honestly, I've heard too much shit about this movie, and no one has any faith in James Cameron. You're welcome to express your dislike of this movie if you want, but please don't make reference to those. It's really frustrating. Like many things, it's almost just rude, and it's completely untrue. This movie is a really good movie. I've already spoiled the rating, but I'll go ahead anyway. Basically, the story is, like I said, the Noble Savage plotline, where the man, whatever, woman, goes into a foreign environment, bonds with those foreigners, and then, by the end of the movie, when the inevitable conflict comes between his old peoples and his new peoples, he chooses the new peoples and sides with them against his former allies, and blah blah blah. You've heard it all a million times before, and that's really not spoiling anything, because if you can't see this telegraph within 2 minutes of the movie, you have not seen very many movies. This is Dances with Wolves, The Last Samurai, the list goes on. But in short, this is still a great movie, and this is still a really good story because of the sheer amount of world building that James Cameron does. You see, he takes a very familiar concept that we've heard many times before, and he's crafted it into something that we give a shit about, basically. It comes down to his world building. He creates all these different intricate species that all have the like biology and like ecology within this world that really seems believable, and all of them, despite their differences, you can see similarities between them, so like I said, they're very alike in that respect. He's really fleshed out the traditions and cultures of the Na'vi, the main alien race, and their interactions with everything around them. It's a very unique portrayal of an alien race, and this is what you would get in almost like a sci-fi novel, described visually rather than through text. And this is very interesting, and this is made all the better by, and I realize I'm skipping about here, the effects. This is what this movie was touted for, and they certainly work. The animation is simply astounding. The 3D is also very well incorporated, but nothing we haven't seen before in other 3D movies. But the animation itself is actually just really good. They've completely got over that kind of uncanny valley look from some movies, Polar Express. But I just, it's really amazing. They've mastered the subtle eye movements. You really care for these people, and even if you aren't really a fan of CG, this is definitely going to float your boat, so to speak. And it is definitely worth seeing on the big screen because it's easily the best quote-unquote summer blockbuster type movie released yet. And yet, that's what I think is the best thing about this film. It is like a summer blockbuster, but it doesn't insult you like Transformers 2 or something like that does. Much like The Dark Knight, I would say, actually. Avatar, it has a very familiar story, but it portrays it amazingly well. And then, like I said, I want to jump back again. The noble savage line is just made actually really poignant for the fact that by the time the conflict comes around, you have actually invested yourself into the design, ecology, creatures of this planet, so much so that it's not even the people that you care about, though you do. It is the environment itself that you don't want to get hurt. And seeing this as this is very much a man versus nature type movie, it really it's a really bold and daring move that I would not have thought they could have pulled off, but just with the sheer beauty of this movie, they have managed to do so. James Cameron has done it again. I didn't really doubt him, but okay, maybe I doubted him just a little. I still thought it'd be great though, and I was not disappointed. I was actually very much relieved. Um, the characters in this movie are one thing people may complain about, is that they're all very one-dimensional for the most part. Despite the over 2.5 hour runtime, I think it's like 2 hours and 42 minutes. Basically, all the evil military sergeant, who's Stephen Lang, by the way, totally freaking buffed out, is just evil marine guy. He's like, rah, rah, I'm gonna cut down the trees, rah, rah, rah. And Sam Worthington, who I do like in this movie, and I do like in general, actually, if you don't recognize him, he was the half Terminator in Terminator Salvation, plays the main character, Jake Sully. Zoe Saldana plays the main female co-star, who you actually don't see in the flesh. It's entirely in the Na'vi body, but just a really good performance. Other actors include Sigourney Weaver, which I can assume James Cameron has only dug up from the grave to co-star in his movies now, and Michelle Rodriguez, among many others. There's quite a few recognizable faces here, but none that really stand out. And it's not that I don't have anything against character actors, in particular Brad Pitt, whose performances in Burn After Reading and Inglourious Basterds have really earned me his respect, I gotta say. But I think it helps with immersion slightly better. You recognize them, but they're not distracting. I think that's generally the thesis of this movie, frankly, is that you recognize most parts, but all of them are just done really well. Everything meshes for some reason, or another, really. And then the sound in this movie is really great. Outside of a somewhat dubious end song, it's very epic, very orchestral, suits the movie perfectly. And I really don't know what much else to say about this movie. I suppose I should probably just stop talking because I'm getting on 8 minutes here. But this is just a really fantastic movie. If you haven't seen it already, go out and see it. Go out and see it if you can. You need to see it in IMAX. You need to see it in 3D. Do not see it 2D. You will be doing yourself a massive disservice and discrediting James Cameron's over a decade of work on this movie. You need to go see this. It is definitely going to be one of those movies, if you get on video, you will regret not seeing on the big screen. Even if you're not really a fan of sci-fi, this is still a pretty fun movie. It has certainly impressed a lot of people I know who are not normally into this type of movie. If you're a fan of space opera, definitely go see this movie. Hard sci-fi, you might be a little put off, but still, this is actually a pretty well thought out movie. It's amazing where a lot of it isn't explained in the movie. A lot of people call out the flying mountains as a geological impossibility. And while it's true it can happen on our planet, that kind of thing can physically happen. Granted, we know no certain instance of that happening, but theoretically, it can happen. This is actually all explained in previous interviews if you've read them. And there's actually something called Pandorapedia online, which explains all of the different scientific names and inspirations for each of the species within the movie, and the floating mountains in particular. It explains all of this stuff, and that is why I love this movie, because it's just a lot of fun, really well thought out, and is not much more I can ask than that. It entertains, it moves, and it's a spectacle. It's everything all in one. Go see Avatar.